What about Kashmir? Are you going to bring that up to all the Prime Ministers for them to decide?
I don't think that the Prime Ministers will be in a position to decide it. We have left the matter to world opinion, and I think world opinion has expressed itself sufficiently strongly.
Will you be raising the question of Kashmir at the conference?
No. Conference has nothing to do with the question of Kashmir. It is Pakistan that has not accepted the decision and is still sitting in Kashmir territory when the United Nations asked her to walk out.
Are you going to take the opportunity of having private talks with Mr. Nehru now that you'll meet him face to face here?
Well, I don't know whether he would like to have private talks with me. It always takes two people to talk to each other.
Mr. Diefenbaker, you weren't exactly odds-on favourite in the recent election. To what do you attribute your success?
That's a very difficult question to answer. After all, the government had been in power for 22 years, and governments in power that length of time naturally develop antagonisms inherent in and increasing by the length of time that they're in power. As far as any postmortems are concerned, there have been various explanations. My own explanation is it's just one of those things that happen.
Do you think that you and your party are ready to govern after 22 years in the wilderness?
Well, if we're not, democracy indeed has reached a sorry position. For after all, governments come and governments go. And in the administration of public affairs, I have never seen any detrimental effect that has followed a change of government. We haven't been able to have the opportunity of experience in administration. But insofar as the last government was concerned, except for 3 members, none of those members, as I recall it at the moment, came into Parliament prior to the time that I first came into Parliament, and many of those associated with me in the new cabinet.
Will your government try to reduce the influence of American commercial interests in Canada?
I don't understand the nature of that question. We don't want to reduce the influence of any interests in the development of our country. We want to assure that all of those interests shall operate in Canada for the maximum benefit of Canada. And in that connection, might I mention this, that we believe that having regard to the present taxation regulations in effect in our country and also the law, that the Canadian who would desire to expend risk capital finds himself in a detrimental position as compared to the American investor. We think that that should be removed, and that Canadians should, at least within their own country, have an equality of opportunity in providing those funds that are necessary for the development of our country. I'm very privileged.
What about Kashmir? Are you going to bring that up to all the Prime Ministers for them to decide?
I don't think that the Prime Ministers will be in a position to decide it. We have left the matter to world opinion, and I think world opinion has expressed itself sufficiently strongly to leave no doubt in anybody's mind as to which way the right lies.
Are you going to take the opportunity of having private talks with Mr. Nehru now that you'll meet him face to face here?
Well, I don't know whether he would like to have private talks with me. It always takes 2 people to talk to each other. So we shall leave the matter at that.
You'll be one of the 5 newcomers to these conferences. What confidence have you in them?
In whom?
In the conference, in these conferences.
In the conference? Well, it's always pleasant to come across friends and those who have the same viewpoint regarding world affairs and international affairs. There may be small differences in outlook, but on the whole, I think this conference must be valuable if it brings us all together. And then we know each other. All right. We consider that we are members of one family, and it's best that the family members should know each other.
Personal contact?
Yes.
Mr. Macdonald, why hasn't Mr. Holland come himself to the conference?
Well, very unfortunately, our Prime Minister fell victim to one of these back complaints, for which the only remedy, apparently, is inaction and lack of movement. And he has to lie quiet, very much against his will, for a few days. And I hope for the time that I get back that he'll be on his feet again and restored to his normal health and vigor.
Do you intend to bring up the question of H-bomb tests at the conference?
Well, I think I'd better answer that by saying that I'd prefer to wait and see how the discussions go at the conference on H-bomb matters. After all, New Zealand's a long way from the centres where they play around with fissionable materials, and I'm over here to learn as much as anything else. And if in the course of discussion it proves that I can make a contribution, then I'll be prepared to do so.
Are you worried about your trade position with this country?
Well, worry is scarcely the word. We're always concerned about our trade position. And as you know, we've had a trade mission over here just recently. They've gone into many aspects of trade with Great Britain. And New Zealand is just digesting the results of their mission over here. So that's a little bit out of my field, and I won't comment on it at the moment.
Mr. Nehru, can you assure us that India has no intention of leaving the Commonwealth?
I can tell you that India has no intention, and I don't see any reason why in the future anything might arise that would lead to, well, India having that intention. But how can I give you a guarantee forever and ever about events?
Are you going to ask for a financial loan for India at this conference?
I don't think the conference has anything to do with it. I'm not going to raise any such question at the conference. We have our dealings with the UK government, as other governments in financial matters. We normally have been asking for credits for purchases, and this kind of thing goes on between our finance ministry and the UK government. It's not a conference matter.
Would it be correct to say that you do need a large loan in the near future?
That depends what you call the future.
The near future?
Well, certainly. We need accommodation in the course of the next year, 6 months next year, and so on. And so we can only get this, prepare for this contingency by increasing our exports, which we propose to do, and we are doing to some extent, or having credits tied over a period, because, or thirdly, of course, what we have done is just limiting our imports.
Will you be raising the question of Kashmir at the conference?
No. Conference has nothing to do with the question of Kashmir. It has never dealt with it, and it won't.
If Pakistan should ask the United Nations to reopen the Kashmir question, would you be prepared to accept the United Nations decision on Kashmir?
The United Nations decisions have always been accepted by us. That is to say, every United Nations decision which we have accepted, we have acted upon it. I do not know which decision you are referring to.
I'm referring to a possible decision.
It is Pakistan that has not accepted the decision and is still sitting in Kashmir territory when the United Nations asked her to walk out.
Is it correct that you were deeply shocked by the United Nations report on Hungary?
No, it is not.
Would you say what you did think about that report?
I have read the report.
You read a summary of it.
How can I be deeply shocked about something which I have not read? The press report here, when it came out, I had not read even a summary. I had not seen a word about it or talked about it. So obviously I could not have been deeply shocked.
Thank you very much, sir.